Halfway through the regular season, here are the numbers for the Nittany Lions. Scoring not where they wanted to be, obviously, but defensively, the numbers off the charts, including third in the Big Ten in points allowed per game, just behind Michigan State and Wisconsin. And they're also number one in the Big Ten right now in interceptions at this stage. Well, Mark Brennan, whiteboard with expert graphics. We'll get to that in just a few moments as we grade things out. Mark, let's get to Iowa. Let's start with that. When you looked at the Iowa game, what stood out to you?
I really liked the way Penn State dominated in the trenches, Steve. Throughout this series, when Penn State struggled, losing 8 of 9, it was really a lot of those games, they had issues on the offense and defensive line. In this game, the defensive line was great as usual, and the offensive line really stepped it up. To get that running game going at a key moment in the fourth quarter there and just absolutely put this game away, I thought was tremendous. Silas Redd with a great day. And for Penn State, getting that monkey off the bat and doing it in a physical fashion, I think that's important going into Big Ten, or as Big Ten play continues.
At the end, that was a Big Ten drive. That's the kind of drive you see typically in the Big Ten. All right, we see the whiteboard. As you can see, we spared no expense on graphics and how we placed it together. We start out, fan pulse is over here. We've had people vote. All right, so we start with wide receivers and tight ends, and I'm the one in charge of putting the fan pulse grade down. The fans, 57%, they end up saying a C. Mark?
You know, I think that the wide receivers have played pretty well. Derek Moy obviously has had a really good year. Tight ends, not so sure about. I think that this area would be a little bit better if there was more consistency at the quarterback position. I'm going to go B- here.
B- for Mark Brennan. We now make the transition to the offensive line. Offensive line coming off a fine performance against Iowa. The overall grade by the fans for the season through 6 is a C.
You know, I was ready to give this a D before that Iowa game, but I think they really pulled it together against that team. You know, Penn State with only one passing attempt in the fourth quarter. I like the way the O-line's developed. Has only given up 5 sacks on the year, and now it's starting to do a lot better in the running game, as we mentioned about Iowa. So, in my opinion, I'm going to give them a C- with the thought that has a lot of room for improvement in the second half of the season.
And no surprise in the fan pulse, we gave that to you in the opening segment. What about the running backs now? Let's get to the running backs here. Silas Redd, Curtis Dukes. We talk about how the running backs have to work in conjunction with the offensive line. Fans say C.
And when I give my grade here, I'm going to talk a little bit about the offensive line again, because I think the running backs would have much better numbers had the line played better early in the season. Silas Redd, to me, has had just a great year, a lot of yards after first contact. And let's not forget about the other people involved in the running back situation here, the fullbacks. Suey and Zordich have both done a really good job. So I'm going to go B- here, too. I think that area can get better as well as the offensive line improves.
All right, we stick with our fan pulse. We go to quarterbacks. There are 2 quarterbacks to judge. Now, whether it's the overall 2 quarterback situation or how they feel about individual play, that's something we can't read from a poll. But overall, the grade that wins out is a D.
Yeah, I don't quite get that. You know, Penn State's sitting there at number 6 in the Big Ten in passing offense.
Right.
McGloin, number 6 in pass efficiency. I get that there's probably people who have issues with the quarterback carousel, but I'm not going to put that at the feet of the players. I'm on record as saying I think McGloin ought to be the guy who starts, and I think they're actually a little bit better than that. I'm going to put one thing here, 5-1. Penn State's 5-1, so I'm going to go C- here. I don't think it's a D. I think that this area has been better than the fans think it's been.
Next up, special teams. I don't think there's any doubt that there's been an improvement now that Anthony Farah has taken over the 3 phases of it. But overall, the fans in games 1 through 6, they voted C.
Yeah, from my perspective, this has been a tale of the first 3 games and then the last 3 games. The first 3 games, Penn State really struggled with special teams. When Farah finally got back into the mix, has just done an outstanding job with the kickoffs, the punts, and the field goals. This is an area to me that's improved vastly. I'm going to say just a normal C here, and that would have been a lot better had they not struggled so much through those first 3 games.
All right, to the defensive line we go. Jordan Hill, Devin, still, I think they weight this pretty heavily. The fans say that part has been an A.
Yeah, to me, this is the easiest grade on the team. You know, these two guys are playing as well as any defensive tackle tandem that Penn State's had in a long time. Maybe Jimmy Kennedy and Anthony Adams. The defensive ends have really stepped it up. Sean Stanley turning into a playmaker. You know, I'd like to see more sacks from the defensive ends. They only have 5 at this point, but, you know, there's no way you can't give this group an A.
Next up, linebackers. We thought that there'd be great depth at linebacker. They've needed the depth. Fans like it as well. They say A.
The linebackers have played really well. I've been extremely impressed by the way they overcame the loss of their leader, Mike Motti. Carsons, Hodges, Stupar, all of these guys have really stepped up. If I'm going to give them one slight demerit, they've not created a ton of turnovers. So I'm not going to quite give them an A because I think they could get better. I'm going to give them a B+.
Okay, B+, all right. Next up, secondary. I found this to be an interesting grade here. The fans, when they looked at the secondary, gave it a B.
And I'm not quite getting that. To me, the secondary has played extremely well. They already have 7 interceptions this year, had 9 or 10 all of last year. You have a veteran group. I get that people, you know, maybe there's a play here or there, but overall, Penn State ranks among the national leaders in pass defense, which I think they're number 5, and pass efficiency defense, which is number 4. A lot of that comes from the D-line, but gee, you got to give these guys an A. Don't be giving them a B.
All right. He says no to you. All right, next up, the offense. The overall grade for the offense, well, let's see. I see a bunch of C's up here, so I figured the overall vote has to be there.
Yeah, and I'm going to go, as you look at the numbers that I have here, the offense, they're 5-1, yeah. Right. But I do think there are some areas that they can improve. I am going to go with a C-. They haven't gotten it done in the red zone as much as I would like, not averaging nearly as many points as they probably ought to.
4 turnovers, by the way, in the red zone this year, 3 in the last 2 games. Defense, overall grade, A.
And I'm going to go slightly lower. Now, that probably doesn't make sense with the grades that I gave the positions, but here's the thing that jumps out at me. Penn State has allowed 11 scores and 11 red zone chances for their opponents. Right. So I think there's room for improvement here, too. I'm going to go B+ with the idea that they have to pick it up in the red zone as the opponents get tougher as the season goes along.
When it came to coaching, there was actually a tie here in the vote at 41% each, C and D. So since I'm the eternal optimist of the entire program, I'll say C. I'll swing it that way.
And I think that's tough. I mean, defensively, you have to give them an A. I really think that, even though I have them at B+, overall. But I don't know. I'm going to call this a B overall. I think they've improved as the season's gone along, and I'm going to go back to this number right here. Penn State's sitting here at 5-1 right now. Okay, so I'm giving the coaching staff a B.
How bad can it be if you're 5-1? Next, leadership.
Leadership, I'm going to go with a B. Yeah, I'll go with the B. I mean, I think that generally speaking, the seniors have done a much better job than the leadership they got maybe last year.
Stadium atmosphere.
I'm going to go C+. Some of these games, the fans haven't showed out in mass, but I'm going to give them a little bit of a break. With the new STEP program, everybody's getting adjusted. Iowa, I thought the fans were great. Alabama, I thought the fans were great.
All right, let's see what the schedule has for Penn State on the horizon. We'll take a quick look for the Nittany Lions. Homecoming, of course, at noon, but then it's the night game at Northwestern, then a real tough stretch. Illinois is undefeated. Nebraska hitting stride. Ohio State, of course, out in Columbus and Wisconsin is off to a great start. Mark Brennan, a Fight on State, as always. Thank you so much. Your grade, fans' grade. We thank you for participating in the poll.